Hey everyone, I'm Marcus Grimm for Medtrics Lab. Have you ever wondered how a feature becomes part of Medtrics? Well, I know I have, and so today I'm happy to be talking to Medtrics CEO Santhosh Cherian about how an idea becomes a feature inside the Medtrics platform that you can use to manage your student records, prepare those MSPEs, whatever it is. Tosh, take me from the very beginning. Now, you're an emergency room radiologist, you're the CEO of Medtrics, so I would assume that a lot of these ideas just come from your ideas when you're sitting on the couch at night, but you have corrected me that most of your ideas actually come from another source. Where do they come from?
Most of our ideas that are turning into features in Medtrics come directly from our clients. We really like to build our roadmap from client feature requests, and then it comes from support calls, emails, onboarding meetings, and it ends up as a feature request in our project management tool.
You've got a lot of different service personnel. You've got people that talk to customers. Some of us go to trade shows. And you mentioned to me before that those ideas can come from anyone in the company, any customer we have. Open door policy when it comes to new feature requests.
Yeah, that is an internal culture that we've built over the years where any person, as soon as they see an idea or hear something from a customer, they're going to enter it into our project management tool. So it's always captured in real time.
Terrific. Now, one of the inherent struggles for any software platform, there's no shortage of ideas. And when it comes to feature prioritization, how do you decide what to prioritize?
In addition to being the CEO, my biggest contribution to the company and the product is deciding what we should put into the system. So myself and a couple of the senior team members review whatever's coming into the queue on a weekly basis and decide what do we want to work on immediately and what do we want to put into the backlog for some future review.
Some of the things that I've heard about are, we'll prioritize a feature based on how many of our customers will use it, or what's the biggest business value. But how do you think about those different parameters?
It is a very complex process. That's why it's usually done by the senior team members of the company. We have an impact score that we use for measuring the impact it'll have on our customers. The highest ranking is for functionality that improves the usability for our learners and educators. If it's a feature idea that's going to improve the experience for students, residents, and faculty members, that ends up at the top of the list. We love our administrators and we want to improve that for their workflow. There is a criteria for that too. But if it's going to improve the students' lives and the faculty's lives, that's also going to indirectly improve the lives of the administrators. That's why we always prioritize their requests first.
In the RICE prioritization framework, the E stands for effort. How hard is this going to be to do? And it's interesting to me, some organizations will do prioritization after they've kind of scoped out how difficult a feature will be. I don't hear you talking about how hard it will be. Is it because your senior team just knows the platform so well, or is it because if there's tremendous value, you want that to be top of the prioritization list, regardless of what it takes?
What really matters is the impact that feature is going to have on the customers. If it is a high impact, low effort, awesome. That's probably going to go into the queue immediately. But if it's going to be a high impact, even if it's a hard task, we're still going to do it because ultimately the entire goal of the company is to make the lives of the learners and educators easier.
It's been prioritized. It's up to the top of the sprint, but everyone does design a little bit different. How's it happen at Medtrics?
But once we decide that we're going to work on an idea, the first part of that process is the design phase. And this is really my favorite part. This is where we talk about and plan out how do we want to build this functionality. So it begins with the designer coming up with a prototype or a wireframe of this feature. And then every Thursday, we have a meeting. It's called our UX meeting, where we have our UX designers, multiple individuals that have experience in healthcare, including myself and a couple of our colleagues who have spent 10 years working in medical education departments, and then a couple of our technical team members who are more on the development side. So we have these three groups coming together to talk about that feature that we're going to build. I modeled this meeting after the Pixar's Brain Trust meeting. And the idea behind that was you have a designer or a producer coming together with the rest of the team to share what they're working on and gather candid feedback. No one holds back anything in this meeting. They're giving their true feelings about whatever is being built. And the designer would take all of that feedback and they would incorporate those changes into it and then come back to the meeting if they need to, or they add it to the development sprint. The most important part is getting feedback from different perspectives. So you're getting feedback from designers, people who have experience in medical education, and the technical team members to make sure that that functionality is scalable and it's going to work for our clients.
We hear a feature idea from a client. I'm sure your team takes great documentation, but is there a feedback loop there? Are you checking in with customers even at the design point?
It depends on the feature. If it is a simple enhancement to the platform, we don't go back to the customer for feedback. However, if it's a functionality that impacts a larger part of the system or impacts multiple pages, there is a process by which after that first round of feedback from the team, the designer would go back to the customer with the design and then collect a round of feedback. We often send a short video explaining what we're planning on doing, get their feedback, update the design, and then come back to the next Thursday meeting to talk about that functionality again with the group.
Terrific. My final question for you is, you already mentioned that pretty much every feature inside Medtrics has come from a customer request. You've been pumping out a lot of features this year. What's one that you can share with us that was brought to you that you said, you know what, let's make this part of the platform?
One of our clients, Lincoln Memorial University, the veterinary school, we have been working with the school to optimize their schedules year after year. One part of that process is to collect the capacity at each of the different hospitals that they're sending the students to. So each hospital needs to say, we can accept X number of students for each block for the upcoming academic year. The school has been collecting this information through a Smartsheet process for many years. This year, we wanted to put that into Medtrics so that there is less data to move around when we do our optimization. What we did was we built a brand new functionality in Medtrics that allows the schools to collect that capacity directly in the platform. So the school does not have to use an external form. They can just collect everything in Medtrics, and we can then download that information, do the schedule optimization, and deliver a fully optimized schedule to the school. All of that came from the request for our client who wanted to stop using an external form to collect the capacity. And we said, this is a great idea. Let's put it into Medtrics. So it streamlines the process for the client and for our optimization team.
All right, folks, so where do features come from in Medtrics? Well, they come from you. Feel free to provide any features that you're interested in. You can use the knowledge base, reach out to your account executive, people that are on your quarterly check-in calls. Those features help shape the next version of Medtrics. For Santhosh Cherian, I'm Marcus Grimm. Have a great day.